Well, hello, all, and welcome to the show. I am so glad that you found me today. It has been one of those days today, and I have to tell you, I am so glad that we're on the air because for a while there, wasn't quite sure, but you found me, and I am here. So, welcome to the Hypno Fairy Godmother Show. I am Shirley, clinical hypnotherapist, advocate, and mental health first responder here at Whispering Zen Hypnotherapy and Wellness. Thank you for coming to the show today again, where you can come as you are and leave as you want to be. That's what our whole goal is to make you feel a little bit more like the person you wish you would have been or wish you would have had growing up. When we think about who we wish we would have had growing up, that person that you could talk to, that person that could understand you, you're becoming that person for somebody else. And I realize that I am slowly becoming that person, and I am very proud of becoming that person because I would have done anything as a kid to have somebody that I could just relate to, and that's what we want to do. So, if you wish you could more freely enjoy a healthy habit, or just start feeling like you want to get back to being a better you, let's talk. Let's communicate. Let's see what we can do about it. And although I do specialize working with the LGBTQIA community, I work with everybody. I have never turned down a client because of pretty much anything. If I think that I can help you, and even if I can't personally help you, I will find you somebody that can. So know that when you contact me and when you talk to me, that this is, if I can't help you, I'm going to find you somebody that can. And I love that. So, you can always book online. You can contact me through any of my social media, just look for Hypno Fairy Godmother Radio or Hypno Fairy Godmother because that is where you will find me. And I do answer all text messages, emails, messages, whatever. I will answer you. I'm not one of those people that say contact me and then I just leave you hanging. I would never do that to you because you deserve to be helped. You deserve to be answered. You deserve for somebody to care and to listen. So before we get started today, well, this is kind of how we always get started, but let's start with a nice deep breath just to relax and hold it in and exhale with a smile. And now the next thing we're going to do is I want you all to be in a safe place. And by safe place, I mean no driving, no working on a project you're supposed to be working on, no dealing with clients, no anything that's going to get you into trouble. Or if you're someplace that you shouldn't be doing, you can always re-listen to the show later. And I don't want anybody closing their eyes if you're driving or you're working with heavy machinery. Lordy, do not do that. So know that you can always re-listen to the show because I'm always on, everything's listed on Facebook and it's on YouTube and all that stuff. But if you are in a nice safe place, let's start by wiggling those toes. Inside your shoes, outside of your shoes, I don't care. Just wiggle your toes. Get that blood flowing. The next thing we want to do is wiggle our butt. Yeah, I said wiggle your butt. And I love the wiggle your butt because it gets the blood circulating, but it's also really hard to sit around and wiggle your butt and hope that nobody's watching you if you're in a work situation, or even when you're alone, you kind of feel a little bit silly. And that's okay to feel silly, wiggling your butt. So, doing that, now one more nice deep breath. And as you exhale, tell yourself a wonderful affirmation. We got this. We can do this. Everything's going to be okay. Because, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get through the day or the week or in some cases the next hour. You know, let's not make some of our goals super huge. Just sometimes if you can get through the next little bit, then I say we're good to go. I would always say that we're good to go. So that's always a fun thing. So, and if you've got a little extra time, wiggle your ankles and your core and your shoulders and your neck. Let's just kind of get all the blood circulating. wiggle it around, look silly, look super silly, because the more silly you look, the better. I love doing that. And in just this short amount of time, you have now loosened up everything from your toes to your nose and above. And, we're ready to start. And you can do this any time of day. You don't have to wait for me on Mondays. Believe me, I do this once a day or more sometimes. If I'm feeling really stressed out in the car, if I'm feeling really stressed out, whatever, I will just start wiggling something. I know sometimes I look like an idiot, but I'm okay with that because figure it, even if somebody sees you in the car doing this, what are the odds you're actually going to see that person ever again? And you may make them laugh and they may go, oh, yeah, maybe I need to move a little. You know, I am a big fan of dancing in your car. I'm a big fan of moving around. Um, this weekend, I was at a group event where my makeup was a little more, let's say, very untraditional. And every time I was at a stoplight, I just waved to the people because they were looking at me strange anyway. And I thought, if I can give that person a smile, then, you know, might as well because that's kind of the mood that I was in. So this month, the month of May, we are now in May. Wow, time flies like crazy. We are in the month of May. And the month of May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month, or acknowledgement, or, and as that is my thing, helping with mental health, then we're going to discuss a few things. And part of what we're going to discuss is not giving up or things you can do when things become emotional, either physically, with the project, mentally, your dreams, your expectations. You know, when things start to go a little pear shaped, if you understand what I'm talking about. And we're going to work on your non give up mindset, living your life fully, living your life very fully. And I belong to some Facebook groups, as we all do. And I read something this morning and it clicked with me. And I thought, I need to copy and paste this because I need to tell you. And I believe this wholeheartedly. And this is what I read this morning. And it's this wonderful little thing. And let me be very clear. If you have faced tragedy and someone tells you in any way, shape, or form that that tragedy was meant to be, that it happened for a reason, that it will make you a better person, or that taking responsibility for that, whatever it was, will fix it, you have the right to remove that person from your life. That's right. Because grief is brutally painful. Grief does not always just occur when someone passes. When relationships fail, you grieve. When opportunities are shattered, you grieve. When, dreams start to die or fall apart, you start to grieve. Will illness, either mental illness, physical illness, any type of illness, starts to wreck you, you grieve. So I am going to repeat this. And I have uttered this countless times, and I hope you do too. Words that are so powerful and honest that they tear at the hubris of every jackass participating in the debasing of somebody grieving. Some things cannot be fixed. Some things just cannot be fixed. They can only be carried. And I hope that that kind of resonates with you too, because I get so tired of, when I'm going through something, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever, people just go, oh, that happened for a reason. Once you get through that, you're going to be so much better. It's crap, okay? Smiling more is not going to make it go away. Or, it's that difference between when somebody comes to talk to you and they say, that they need to speak with you. And it's the difference between, do you just need somebody to listen or do you need somebody to give you an opinion? Because sometimes people don't want their opinion. And that's okay. And you can't always fix people, which is hard for me because I am a fixer. And, I'm a counselor. And, sometimes my whole internal being is about fixing somebody. And one of the supervisors the other day had to tell me, as much as you want to, you can't fix people. Your responsibility is to give that person space to talk and grieve and express their emotions. And that's what people need, you know? But when things start to go a little crazy and stuff like that, I just tell myself that I'm going to persist when things get tough, that I will either find a way or I will make a way. That every problem usually has a solution, and I am the perfect person to figure out what it is. Now, that's not fixing it, that's moving on. Sometimes that's not fixing it. Maybe sometimes when you have a problem, there is no way to fix it. Well, then you have that in you to grieve it or to deal with it or to just hold it. And sometimes may take a little longer than others. And every day I know that I will gain more knowledge and insight about what works and at the same time what doesn't work. Which means that I'm getting stronger and I'm getting wiser. And so are you. And I tell myself, and sometimes I use this as my affirmation, is I will find a way through this. And it may not be the most conventional way, and it may not be the way that anybody else does it, but it is in fact my way. It's my way of handling it. Sometimes we have little arguments in our household about the right way to do things, and I always have to say it may not be your way, but that doesn't mean it's the wrong way. It's my way. And each day I get a little stronger. And sometimes you just have to stop yourself and go, now think for a second. What's the best thing for me to do right now? Is it to keep concentrating and going over the problem and over and over and over? Or is the best thing for me to do is to stop, put it aside, go to something else and come back to it? And that's something that's really hard for me too. And it's hard for a lot of us, is that sometimes the best answer to a solution is to do nothing, is to, let it simmer. I can guarantee, I like to talk about your subconscious because I am a hypnotherapist and this is what we talk about. And your subconscious will keep working at that problem until it usually finds a way. Now, how do I know this? Well, think of it this way. When you're trying to think of a song or the name of a person and you're going over it and over and over it and you decide to move on, that mental Rolodex, that little computer in the back of your brain, is still chugging away. And you may think of that answer 5 minutes later or 2 days later. Sometimes the Rolodex or the little computer is chugging a little slower. But you'll figure it out. And when you do, you will feel so much relief. But don't think that just because you're letting something sit and kind of, simmer a little bit, that you've forgotten about it, because you're going to keep, you'll keep thinking about it and it will come to you. And you just have to, ask yourself, what's the best thing for me to do? Is it to stir on this? Is it to, whatever you need to do? Or is it to just let it simmer for a while and you'll get back to it? We've all had a song stuck in our head, or, one of us will ask the other one, do you remember the name of that person or the name of that movie or and it's something from 20 years ago. And I'm like, no, but I'll figure it out eventually. And that's kind of what we all do, and watching others refuse to give up gives us strength. It does. your resolve to keep going. And sometimes when you see somebody persist in a good way, not in a negative way, but see them keep going and keep trying to figure it out, it gives us strength because you can tell yourself, if they didn't quit, I'm not going to quit. And I have some very strong people in my family and some very strong people in my core group that don't give themselves enough credit for me looking at them and seeing that consistent persistence. Yes, the consistent persistence, you know? And I look at them and I go, wow, if they can do it, I can do it. And I'm not going to give up, so they didn't give up. We kind of work with each other, and sometimes that's what you need to know. Give yourself, when you're starting to do something, you know, start every project and everything with a positive outlook, which is what we have to do. But it's okay. Like everything else, it's a process. Everything we do is a process. Mental health, dealing with mental health, dealing with physical health, dealing with what's going on at work, what's going on at home. It's a process. We're like that little engine that could, and we just keep slowly chugging. And, like I said, sometimes the hardest thing is to find a reason to smile when smiling doesn't always come easy. And, there's so much stuff going on in our world. And then there's so much that we have no control over. And there's stuff in our personal lives that maybe we have no control over. And we just have to keep going, and as you're starting to heal, and we're all in a healing process. We may not know it or deal with it or whatever, but we are in a total healing process. And when you start to go through that healing process, there are some things that we go through. We run in a cycle of self-love, self-doubt, and self-criticism. It's kind of like the circle, it doesn't just come and it's fixed and it's great, because sometimes we are self-accepting and we know that we're going to be okay and we're healing, and then you have the self-doubt. Am I doing this right? Am I not doing this right? And the self-criticism, which sometimes is called the imposter syndrome. What makes me think that I'm an authority on this and that I can tell somebody else how they should fix things? Maybe you are the best person. And if somebody asks for your opinion, be nice about it if you can. But tell them and go, I'm only telling you this because you asked me. Another thing we do when we're healing is we learn and we unlearn. Sometimes the hardest thing that you can do is unlearn something. If you have a phrase that you've always used that deep down is the wrong phrase. It's either sexist or, I can think of several that are pretty anti-LGBTQIA. But, sometimes the hardest part when we're healing is to unlearn things that we know. Somebody has given us advice or said something to us when we were young, and it stuck with you. And whether that person knows that they keep saying it and it keeps having the same effect on you, sometimes you have to tell other people that they may need to unlearn something. Sometimes unlearning is harder than learning. Actually, most of the time it's harder. When we're healing, we're going to feel frustrated. It's just part of the healing process. We're going to grieve. We're going to feel frustrated. We're going to feel like it's never going to end. But it's just part of the healing process. We're going to feel overwhelmed, incredibly overwhelmed sometimes. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. I'm telling you, it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It really is. We're going to make mistakes while we're healing. We're going to think, okay, I've got it together. I know what I need to do. Game plan. Let's do this. And you're going to go, wow, because we have epic, epic things that we do that are incredible, incredible things. And then we have epic mistakes. I am the queen of both, as are you. It's all right. We're healing. We're making note of it. And I like to mark things down. I'm a list person. I love making lists. And I have lists, literally lists of things that are epic fails. Or Lord, don't ever try that again. It's all right. Now I know and I did it. And sometimes I'm smart enough that if I have a friend or an acquaintance or whatever that says that they've tried something that I'm thinking of and it was an epic fail for them, sometimes I'll ask them why. If you know from somebody else's experience that what you're thinking of doing is not going to work because they tried it the same exact way you did, don't make the same mistake. And sometimes if you write down and you look at your little list of things that you've done in the past and you know that it's a little edgy, little hinky, then don't do it. Don't do it again. We're going to have problems struggling to accept the truth about our circumstances. Yeah, that's a tough one when you're healing. That acceptance of right now, things are where they are. This happened because of this. I have to accept my circumstances. Doesn't mean you need to wallow in it. Doesn't mean you need to dwell on it. It means you just need to accept the truth, which is really hard. Really, really hard to accept that things are a little pear-shaped. Okay. Sometimes the hardest thing we need to do when we're healing is accept that we need help. Accepting that we need help. And then asking for help. I have people that contact me that maybe they're finally to that point to where they need help. And like I said, if I can't help you, if I am not the right person, and I like to think that I can pretty much help anybody, but sometimes I'm not qualified. Or my training doesn't go to that extent. Sometimes the best thing that I can do if you come to me for help is find somebody that can actually help you. If it's not me, I will help you find somebody that can help you. Sometimes when we're healing, we're grieving. Back to the grieving. It's okay. And grieving is not failure. It's not. And there's no time limit. That's the other thing. There's no time limit. People go, well, how long am I going to feel this way? I don't know. I know people that, have grieved for years and years. And they feel like they've gotten over it. And then they'll see something. Or they'll hear a song. Or smell a certain smell. And it brings it all back. It's okay. There's no time limit on grieving. You don't have to move on. And like I said before, those people that tell you it happened for a reason and forget about those people. They are not helping you. Sometimes when we're healing, the hardest thing that we have to do is struggle to forgive yourself. You are important. Forgive yourself. Don't feel guilty, because we're going to feel guilty when we're healing. We're going to feel guilty. Maybe we treated somebody bad. Maybe we continually treated somebody bad. Maybe we need to forgive ourselves for letting somebody else treat us badly. Think about it that way. You have to forgive yourself for getting you into a situation. Now, you may not have known that you were in that situation. You didn't go into it thinking that way. So sometimes the hardest thing we have to do is forgive ourselves. Sometimes when we're healing, we have to sometimes give up. give up. And when I say give up, it's not give up on yourself, but maybe it's give up on trying to fix that other person or fix that situation. Sometimes the hardest things that we have to do, sometimes when you're healing, it's hard to find, it's really hard to do, but sometimes you have to be selfish. When you're healing yourself, sometimes it's okay to be selfish. Because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of somebody else, and it's okay to be selfish. Maybe not all the time, but it's okay to put you first. So many people tell me that, I have to put my kids first, I have to put my husband first, I have to put my job first, I have to put this first. And I ask them, when was the last time you put you first? And they don't remember because they've never put themselves first. We're going to go back to my favorite thing about being on an airplane. Guess what? If you start to go down, what do they tell you to do? They tell you to put the mask on yourself first and then put the mask on somebody else. You can't save somebody else if you don't have any oxygen going to your brain. You can't heal somebody else unless you started the healing process to yourself. Sometimes when we're healing, we're just struggling to fit in. Maybe you're struggling to fit in to a social group or a work group. Maybe you're struggling to fit in with your family. And we all know that there are two types of families. There's your blood family and there's your chosen family. Sometimes we have a couple different families. Sometimes we have different families for different groups. I have different families for different groups, different social groups that I'm in. This one feels like a family. This one feels kind of like a family. I have my actual family. I have, a sister family. These are just parts, but sometimes when you're healing and you're learning to forgive yourself and you're learning that it's okay to make mistakes and you're learning that cycle of self-love and self-doubt and self-criticism, sometimes it's hard to feel like you fit in. Sometimes you wonder what you're doing there. It's okay. It's all right. You're healing. Remember, we're all about healing. Sometimes you got to let those relationships go. Maybe you were part of a group for a long time and you realize you don't have anything in common with that group anymore. It's not that they're horrible. It's not that you're horrible. Maybe you've outgrown them. Maybe they're doing something you don't quite agree with. Maybe instead of just letting them go, maybe you just need to go on a little hiatus, a little sabbatical. Give yourself a chance to heal. Give yourself a chance to heal. And one of the hardest parts that we have to do when we're healing is take responsibility. Take responsibility. Now, like I said, if that's responsibility for, messing up, if it's responsibility for, whatever it is, sometimes that's really hard for some people. Sometimes it's really hard for me. I would never ever tell you to do something that I'm not willing to do. And I know that some people out there just, they laugh and they go, do you ever listen to yourself? And I'm like, yeah, but it's hard. It's hard because we're all better at giving advice than we are taking it. We're all better at giving it than we are acknowledging it and doing it. It's just who we are. It's just absolutely who we are. And if you're having a hard time and you're struggling, sometimes it's really good if you've got somebody that you can call or talk to. And it doesn't have to be a phone call. It can be a text message. It can be a chat line. It can be whatever, however you want to communicate. And it can help you make that progress. Not everybody calls me. Some people text, some people message, some people whatever. It's however you feel like you need to do that. And you can think of that person that you're calling or contacting or whatever. It's maybe a goal sponsor. Instead of going, this is my therapist or this is my whatever, think of them as like a goal sponsor. Somebody that can help you go, okay, these are the goals that we're setting. And have that person maybe help you stay on track. Once you're responsible to somebody else, then it's not a bad thing to have somebody to hold you accountable. You know, because it's going to resist you. It's going to help you to resist giving up. And we never want to give up. So, before you decide that you want to quit, then have somebody that and it could be an acquaintance, it could be a family member, it could be pretty much anything. It could be a stranger, an absolute stranger on a call line or a support line. Just somebody that can maybe hold you responsible for not giving up on yourself and not giving up on you. Like I said, some of the hard part is the learning and some of the hard part is the unlearning. And if you need to have somebody hold you responsible for unlearning, um, try it a new way. It's okay. We're all about nourishing your soul. We're all about nourishing your soul. We're all about persisting. You know, like I said, I will either make a way or I will make up a way. It's little stuff like that. Get yourself into that positive attitude. Sometimes when we're setting things up and we're healing, we need to ask ourselves and go back and ask yourself why. Basic question, why? You know, why do you feel like quitting? Why did you start it in the first place? What made you take that direction? Ask yourself why. Look back at your list. Like I said, I'm a list person. So go back to your list containing all the reasons that you started. Did you start a project? Did you start a new group? Did you start a new whatever it is? And if you need to, add some more reasons as to why you started. It's okay. The greater the quantity of reasons, it's like the yes no list. We always do the list, and one side is all the positives, one side's all the negatives. Um, see which list is bigger. Go back over it, and go, oh, I started this because I was in the mood to try this. And maybe that'll give you the inspiration because we're all working on healing ourselves. Find the reasons to keep going so that you don't want to quit, so that you want to keep moving forward. Maybe if you look at that list and you're trying to figure things out, maybe a good thing to do is to find a different how. Yes, maybe it's not. It's part of it is going back to why you were doing it, but maybe what you need to do is try a different how. Take out a pen and a piece of paper, start a whole new list, start a whole new brainstorming activity, different alternatives on what you can try, and then choose one of them and choose one or two of them. If you can't choose, put it on the wall, throw a dart, or you know what I'm talking about. Spin your finger around and just hit one. Fold up a piece of paper, whatever you need to do, and choose something. Or maybe what you need to do is put those aside. Maybe go back to something that you were trying before so that you can succeed and have those little victories. You're succeeding. One way to quit, one way to stop yourself from quitting is maybe take a break from what you were trying to do. Do something completely different that will give you a little bit of a reward to keep you moving towards your goals. A lot of people know this story, some people don't, that Walt Disney had been fired by a newspaper editor because he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Sometimes it's not your fault. Think about that. Walt Disney had a lack of imagination, no good ideas. I had somebody once tell me as I was a reporter that I wasn't really a good reporter, but I was a really good writer. Kind of a backwards compliment, but it had an effect. And I had to kind of look at it, you know. And if Walt Disney had quit and given up his if he had given up and quit imagining things and quit designing things, he would have never found success. I realized that I love to write stories more than I really like reporting on stories. Different way of using your imagination. It was the same thing. Maybe you're really good at blogging, you know, that gets lots of social media. Maybe you go viral. Bask in the glow of that attention. That's a great thing that you can do. Maybe if, you like to cook, try a new recipe, feed it to your friends, have people come over for dinner, give yourself kudos and go, look at this. I tried this. This is great. Somebody's probably going to ask you for the recipe. Now, probably not if I was cooking. It's not really my forte. But some people are really good at trying new recipes and really good at trying stuff like that. If that's your idea, maybe you're a really good artist, but you've only done art with pencils, or you've only done it with paint. Maybe just for the heck of it, try a new medium. Try a medium you've always wanted to try. Maybe try, instead of drawing, try sculpture. Just something a little bit different sometimes, so that you're having these little successes, because that's what we want to do. Keep going, keep moving, keep chipping away at these little things. And when you want to quit, push yourself just a little bit farther. Just those little tiny steps. And the little tiny steps grow into bigger steps. And we start healing because we're having successes. And successes help you heal. Sometimes failures help you heal. I know that sounds contradictory, but sometimes I've found at certain times that I have had epic fails. And sometimes those epic fails, what they've done is made me realize that, maybe I was looking at something from a different kind of a different direction. It's okay. I know that now. I'm okay with that. You know, think about it in the way of a bamboo plant. I know I'm getting all metaphorical on you and stuff like that. But a bamboo plant spends 5 years just growing roots. Just growing roots. And during that time, the grower of that bamboo plant has nothing more than little tiny shoots, you know, to be able to tell that something's happening and that it's actually there and that something's going on. And then after 5 years, the plant shoots up like 25 feet in a short amount of time. It's crazy. So if you're in the healing process, don't think that it's going to happen immediately. Sometimes it takes a little while, and the next thing you know, you turn the corner and boom, boom, you're there. You may not be completely healed, you may not be completely over the situation, but you will have a noticeable change in that short amount of time. Like I just said, use failure as a stepping stone. Try something, sometimes when I start off on a project, I have lists and lists and lists of things that I want to do, and I check them off, and if I fail at something, I just mark it as a no-go, keep on going. You know, with a lot of kids, it's great because they can find out where something is yucky. Things just aren't going well. But going through those steps is the most important part. Sometimes it's not success or failure that's the most important. Sometimes it's going through the steps. Sometimes it's going through the learning. What does it have to say? What did you get from that? We can find out a lot more information by doing the steps than either succeeding or failing. We're growing, we're healing. You know, Sometimes, the little stresses, the little anxieties, listen to those. Listen to what they're telling you because they're important. They're just as important. I love talking about Weeble Kung Fu. Because Weeble Kung Fu makes you mentally stronger. Where a little Weeble, someday I'm gonna have to remember to bring my little Weeble in here. But sometimes it tips way to one side. Sometimes it tips way to the other side. But somehow it always ends up right back where it started. Sometimes a little more to the left, sometimes a little more to the right. The worst thing that can happen is you spend weeks telling yourself positive and encouraging things, and you're learning and you're growing, and you're helping others do those same things. How bad does that sound? You know, we give ourselves a mental checklist and, see how things are going. You're in control of your own destiny. You're in control. That's part of being selfish. That's part of having that move forward, is knowing that if you do have an epic fail, you can start over. May not be easy, and it's usually not easy. Every time I've had an epic fail and had to start back from jump, it makes me crazy. But I take what I've learned, you know? Sometimes, my wife will say, so how long are you going to wallow in this before you get what you needed out of it and start moving to the next thing? Are you done feeling sorry for yourself? Because I'm giving you about 5 minutes on this one. Then it's time to move on. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But it's a good point, you know? And sometimes I have to stop and I have to throw myself into some meditation and some mindfulness and get myself back to center, because we know that mindfulness is for part of healing, or is a big part of healing. But mindfulness is getting yourself back to center. It's not worrying about what used to happen or what had happened in the past. It's not worrying about what's about to happen. It's getting you back to now. It's getting you back to where you need to be. And it's not easy. I always like to tell you that if you don't have 5 minutes for mindfulness and meditation, you probably need at least 60. If you are, and that's kind of a part of being selfish. That's kind of a part of taking that time. And people go, I don't have 5 extra minutes. You know what? Sometimes you're in the bathroom by yourself. If you're lucky, I know sometimes that's really hard for some people. Are you taking a shower? Are you in your car alone? Are you in the bathroom alone? Are you taking a bath by yourself? 5-6 minutes. Use that time. We're all used to taking our phones with us everywhere, and we're all used to having everything. You know what? Sometimes take that time that you have alone, as weird of a place, it doesn't matter where. You don't have to have a meditation room or a specific place to go. It can be anywhere. I have done full meditations in the shower. Yep, because sometimes that feels like that's the only place that I have that I can go and feel this way. That I can feel like I'm alone. That I can feel like I can concentrate. That I'm not trying to take care of something else or somebody else. I just put myself in the moment. This doesn't really work great for most men, but for me, sometimes shaving your legs can be very zen. Could work for men too if they really wanted it to, but whatever you need to do. Sometimes shampooing your hair can be very zen. Just take time. Don't rush. You're healing. You're really healing. And sometimes the hardest thing that you have to do while you're healing is getting out of your own way. Calling that person, calling that support, that family member, that relative, that whoever, get online, find a chat group. Sometimes you just got to get out of your own way. And it's okay, because you got to keep track and you got to watch out for you, your mental health. Remember, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm going to talk about mental health more than I normally do, which you're thinking, oh my God. For some of you, you've been listening to me for years. It's like, that's all you talk about. That's right. Because your mental health is important. It's important to always take note of your mental state, of where you are right now. And if you can do, like I said, while you're trying to find, your space, do your self compassion pause. Do your 3-minute breathing space. That's 3 minutes. Before I was asking you for 5. I'm knocking it down to 3. Ask yourself, how am I doing right now? Check in with yourself. They say check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check in with yourself. How am I doing? And listen. Listen to your body. Listen to your mind. You know you better than anybody else. You know your health. You know your mental health. You know your physical health better than anybody else. So if somebody's giving you crap advice, if you know that somebody's, maybe not maybe meaning to, but they're self-sabotaging you. Ask yourself how you're doing. Then ask yourself, how is that affecting me? Where did those thoughts come from? Remember, we don't want to ignore the thoughts. We want to acknowledge the thoughts. We don't want to dwell, but we want to acknowledge the thoughts and go, where did that come from? Do I want to have that thought again, or do I never want to think about that again? It's okay. That's keeping control of you. That's doing what you need to do. That 3-minute breathing space. How is that deep breathing helping you? The number one thing that I tell people is to breathe. And when they go, I know how to breathe, go, no, breathe correctly, because slowing your breathing down will slow your heart rate, will slow your lungs, will lower your blood pressure, and help you to live longer. And yes, I just slowed all of that down because sometimes you need to hear that. Just by slowing down your breathing. The most important part of mindfulness is to recognize it and to do it daily, and in time you're going to see those benefits. You're going to be healing. The trick is to persevere and keep going and approach the process with self-compassion. Allow for reflection, allow for change, and allow for the flexibility of different things, different techniques, different interventions. Act mindfully. Sometimes just complete one thing a day. One thing. Is it going out for a walk? Is it giving yourself a few minutes to read? Is it taking 3 minutes to do a self-compassion pause? To do a 3-minute breathing exercise? Positive thoughts. Sometimes you just need to step away from the situation and experience it and then go on, and to just go on, because you're strong. You're stronger than you give yourself credit for. You're so much stronger than you give yourself credit for. And I know that. I believe in you. I believe in me the way I have to, because sometimes I'm the only one that believes in me. Sometimes you're going to be the only one that believes in you. But know that there's actually 2 people at least. Because I believe you can do whatever you need to do too. I really super do. So I want to thank you for listening today. It has been an honor and a pleasure to be even a small part of your journey. And I hope that maybe it's been calming and soothing, maybe a little bit funny, maybe you learned something. But, mostly I hope that wherever you are, you're starting to feel a little bit more like who you really want to be and who you really want to become. I'm Shirley, your hypnotherapist, activist, and mental health first responder at Whispering Zen Hypnotherapy and Wellness. And I work with my clients, and maybe I work with you, maybe I can work with you as a team to find out the best way to get you back to feeling more like who you want to be without any fear or apprehensions. You know, no stresses, no, we're not going to add on to it, we're going to help relieve it. And I work online, which is great because that means that I can be wherever you are. Nice and convenient that way. And I realize hypnosis isn't for everyone. So maybe we can work together. We can see, and if you want to book a consultation, you can always find me at whisperingzenhypnotherapy.com, whisperingzenhypnosis.net. You can find me anywhere on my social media as the Hypno Fairy Godmother. I'm always there. And like I said, I will always answer. I will never leave you hanging, honeys. I will never, ever leave you hanging. So let's take one more nice deep breath. Hold it. And breathe out with a smile. Thank you so, so much for tuning in. Remember to tell your friends about the show because I would love to have as many people as possible. For those of you that are my Patreon members, thank you, thank you. For those of you that would like to support the show, always looking for new people. Even to buy me a cup of coffee. Every little bit helps. So thanks once again for tuning into the show. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And I promise I will see you next week. And